52 seconds for 2 logos. That is f***ing inflation. What if we made a movie called How to Trim Your Logos?
Okay, I think it might have been S-Dog who suggested this in my Q&A, but unless I have something new to say from now on, I'm just gonna add a sins silently every time you send these goddamn logos. It's actually exhausting trying to figure out new things to say about the same sin.
I mean, when you called it the hidden world, I thought that maybe it was a metaphor. I haven't seen this much fog and fire obscuring the action since I went to that Rammstein show we no longer talk about.
Huh? The scene you're showing doesn't have action, it's just a guy walking. And if you're talking about later when there is action, we can see it just fine. And besides, this fog is here to show Hiccup and his crew's failed stealth mission to free all the dragons on this boat.
That's really just a nitwit who forgot to fireproof his butt.
Man, Kirk Cameron is going to be so pissed when he finds out how I fireproofed my butt.
I don't understand what the joke is, but based on all the other lame jokes this guy makes, I'm gonna assume it's not funny.
But at least nobody else knows we're here.
Character is woefully unaware that the definitive statement they are making is contradicted by hilarious evidence that the audience can see cliché.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Look at this weirdo. Bet it's super dumb.
Yes, it is. It could easily fit through these cage bars and save itself.
I think that was the joke, dude. Weirdly, I've been getting more comments on my Inside Out video telling me that I take you guys too seriously, and I think it's funny how you do the exact thing I get criticized for.
Why can't I get this cage open?
It slides.
Obviously.
It does not slide. It opens on a hinge just the way you thought it would. The problem is it was locked, and the lock slides. This may seem like a minor difference, but hi, I'm Jeremy. Welcome to my CinemaSins.
You don't think the lock is exactly what Astrid was referring to?
Also, I can get behind a story arc where a cluster of a raid party needs maturation, but I can't get behind bringing along a person who isn't able to comprehend the basic function of a cage door.
You're talking about Ruffna, one of the 3 characters in this series that has always been portrayed as dumb. This is just consistent characterization. Though, then again, you somehow missed that Ruffna and Tuffna argue a lot in the first film, so I guess it makes sense that you missed this.
What took these guys so long? We saw them 30 seconds ago, charging on the deck of the boat, and they only now came in for the attack?
Maybe they were getting into position to spring a sneak attack?
Oh, stop worrying. They'll get it.
And I'm so sure that I'm totally willing to put their actual lives on the line, so I can sit here and just offer commentary.
A whole year has passed since the last movie. You think this is their first mission? Of course Valka has confidence in them.
The one thing about the jumping to your death but your ship dragon is there waiting for you bit that I can't quite wrap my head around is when do they plan these maneuvers? Did Fishlegs really send his dragon off the edge of the ship a while ago knowing this was how he would escape? What if the dragon had been 5 feet to the right?
The dragons are always nearby to help with their owners. That's one of the main themes of the movie, that the humans rely a little too much on them.
This is Burke.
Okay, fine. It's not technically narration, but since he's referencing the narration from the first movie and saying it to a dragon, who as a species apparently are born understanding English, we're just gonna call it meta-narration and add the sin anyway, okay?
So even when the movie isn't technically narrating, you still sin it? That's cheating.
And the locals are as colorful as you get.
Me, look at this sensory overload. It's like the primary color paint can aisle blew its load on a birdhouse convention during a bug swarm.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Let's be real. These people have to play Frogger on the backs of dragons to avoid walking waist deep in dragon.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Wait, that's something wrong with this movie?
Also, maintaining a dragon population of this size must wallop Burke's economy to a degree that can only be ignored by the movies. The upkeep, the food supply, the space, and everything else must be a nightmare. Plus, at least 4 or 5 of these dragons have got to be jerks, right?
We've already been over this, but these movies have firmly established that the Vikings being able to build all of this with the resources they have is a main part of them. And especially now with Hiccup as the new chief and his specialty as a blacksmith, they could get this done in no time.
So, Hiccup's mom, any notes on my bone-crushing assault, or was it pretty much perfect?
The snot-lout hitting on Hiccup's mom storyline promises to be every bit as awkward and uncomfortable as the writers wanted it to be while maintaining none of the humor they were hoping would be there as well. Also, I just remembered this character's name is Snotlout, and that's absolutely a sin on whoever named him. Did they name their other son Spitclod and Lummox?
Dude, the main character in this series is named Hiccup. You even demonstrated you know what Burke really means in the last movie. Why are you just now realizing this?
Food fight!
With hundreds of dragons circling the Burke lands, meat would not be easy to come by. This chunk of meat would absolutely be a delicacy, and no one would dare chuck it across a table in a food fight.
Except we've only ever seen dragons eat fish, so I think they're fine.
Eret, son of Eret!
I can't remember my own mother's name, and Hiccup can recognize Eret from a throat clearing? Bull. Or they're f***ing.
Hold on, you can't remember your own mother's name? Okay, maybe that's a joke, but the throat clearing thing is pretty realistic. I'm able to assign voices I recognize to anyone I know, and Eric has been living with them for a year now. I find this believable.
One day, you're gonna pick a fight you can't win.
This super supportive statement has no payoff. Hiccup, his crew, and the dragons survive every fight they start.
You're right, they all survive. But that's not what Gobber is talking about. Later, Grimmel arrives and burns down Hiccup's house, and then when Hiccup and the gang try to capture him, they fall into his trap. That's the payoff that this is setting up. Gobber's point is that they can't win all the fights, not that they might die in battle.
Then the director said, let the character stand in the shadows with only his eyes lit so we know for sure he's evil. You know, since we ran out of apples.
Pointing things out on the screen.
A year since Drago's defeat.
Little did anyone know, How to Train Your Dragon 3 is a sequel to Rocky 4 and a prequel to Creed 2. The animators worked very hard to depict 1986 accurately. Can't wait until they show us how Drago thunder punched Chernobyl after a nuclear accident and saved the lives of millions.
Are we really doing this? I get it, Drago has the same name as the guy who killed Apollo, but I'm sorry, that's not funny.
The flock is protected by a Night Fury.
I know we're in Viking times here, but how the does Grimmel not know about the Night Fury?
Because he was out doing other things? The only reason he's here is because these dragon hunters asked him to come over and kill Toothless, so why would Grimmel have heard of him before this moment?
This dragon is within mere feet of Grimmel as he approaches, but suddenly way far back when the shot changes to the side view, and he is supremely confident that his knockout arrow will put this huge animal to sleep before it crashes into him.
Okay, so you brought up a legit sin, being that the shots are inconsistent with how far away the dragon is from Grimmel, but then you criticized him for being confident that his dart would work. It's almost like that's the point, to show how dangerous and smart he is.
It was the home of your grandparents and their grandparents before them.
Your grandparents' parents lived in Iowa, but we don't talk about them.
Joke would have been a whole lot funnier if they didn't mention they've lived in this village for 7 generations.
Out there, beyond the sunset, lies the home of the dragons.
This flashback is sweet and all, but wouldn't Hiccup have remembered this conversation with his father during the first 2 movies? Wouldn't that have been major motivation for plot lines and decisions before the franchise wanted to wrap this up in a pretty low bow?
But this idea of looking for the hidden world wasn't important until now. There was no reason for Hiccup to think about this in the first movie, and the second one, there wasn't anywhere near this many dragons, and Gobber berated Hiccup for thinking about dragons over his own village in this movie, and so only now Hiccup is remembering this and considering the hidden world as an option.
5 full minutes of dragon flirting.
Pointing things out on the screen. Now I'm worried I'm gonna have to say this way more often in this one.
At this point, Grimmel can just take Toothless down if he wants. He can kidnap him and put him on an island and hunt him for sport, like The Most Dangerous Game, or that movie with Ice-T called Surviving the Game. But he doesn't do this for reasons unknown.
Grimmel loves the hunt, and he sent this Night Fury out because he knows that Night Furies mate for life. And so with Toothless falling in love with her, it'll be more fun to capture him whenever he tries to look for her.
This dragon meet cute is so Wall-E that I'm half expecting Toothless to start showing her Hello Dolly, using a series of cave drawings any minute now.
Wall-E? How is this anything like Wall-E? I mean, you showed the Light Fury shooting her plasma ball, so maybe you're comparing that to when Eve shot her gun, but A, Eve shot at Wall-E while the Light Fury was shooting at Hiccup and Astrid, and B, Toothless literally has the same ability, while Wall-E was a bunch of steps below Eve. Then again, you did compare this series to Brave twice, forcing me to accidentally say that these movies take place in Scotland even though they don't, so what do I know?
Another Night Fury.
It's more like a bright.
A Light Fury.
Yeah, yours is better, probably.
Nope, they are exactly the same amount of okay. Personally, I would have just gone with Discount Eva.
Okay, are you going to continue comparing this to Wall-E? I'd rather you not.
I swear this movie might as well have been titled National Geographic's How to Mate Your Dragon.
So is this movie not allowed to have a dragon romance? You never criticized Hiccup and Astrid's romance. Wait, are you being racist?
Hiccup finds a sleeping dart. He manages to locate a trap. Then he says...
He can't be that smart. He left his trap unmanned.
And then animated Jon Snow says...
Nothing's accidental when it comes to old Grimmel.
But this is never explained. It's almost like the movie was using this as a reason to explain who Grimmel was, despite Grimmel's actions making no sense.
This is one of those things that you're meant to put together on your own, though since your movie analyses suck, I understand why you didn't get it. Anyway, I mentioned earlier that Grimmel wanted Toothless to mate with the Light Fury, and because of that, Toothless wanted to go out and see her, so Grimmel knew Toothless would be here to spring this trap.
I know this handiwork. Grimmel the Grizzly. Famous back where I'm from.
So famous that every person there studied his dart designs for maximum plot convenience?
Era also mentions that Grimmel was the best dragon hunter he's ever met, so he's most likely seen his darts whenever that happened.
He lives for the hunt.
Movie justifies Grimmel's procrastination in killing Toothless by saying he lives for the hunt, which will in no way make this movie any more thrilling. Toothless is essentially a domesticated puppy dog, so trying to make hunting him exciting is just this movie's way of giving the protagonist a chance to win.
Wait a minute. You earlier said that Grimmel didn't trap Toothless immediately for no explained reason, but here you show the reason for why. And why didn't you go back and edit that scene?
You have no idea who I am, do you?
No, but you're using a vaguely Transylvanian accent and appearing out of the darkness, so I'm gonna guess Dracula. Are you Dracula? Count Chocula then?
Okay, that's definitely racist.
I am the Night Fury killer. I've hunted every last one but yours.
Is everyone just gonna keep pretending that the Light Fury isn't just a female Night Fury? What the hell kind of semantic games are we playing here?
They never actually call the Light Fury a Night Fury, and it's probably like how we call female lions lionesses. Night Furies seem to be way more powerful anyway, so it's more rewarding to kill them.
Also, even though the surprise of the double power twist is clever, it does leave me wondering how you knew the exact night he would be making this visit, and why you wouldn't use that foreknowledge to a better advantage, maybe involving traps and dragons and such.
What other night could it have been? Why would Hiccup assume Grimmel would come at any other time? And you asking why they don't use the foreknowledge to a better advantage proves you missed the point of this scene. Hiccup underestimates Grimmel, and the consequences of that leads to Grimmel's dragons burning down his house.
This is Burke.
From here on out, Hiccup is now banned from saying "this is Burke" ever again. He's already said it 19 times in this movie alone, although I'm not good at counting, so it's probably more.
You know, you're guilty of this too. You say boner in every other video. Now you know how I feel whenever you repeat yourself.
You knew he was coming, but didn't have anyone scouting his dragons? That's like Dragon Warfare 101.
They didn't know they were coming. Though, I am wondering if Eric knew about Grimmel. Did he not know about these dragons? Nah, the drugging is probably a new thing.
I say Burke is wherever we go.
Huh, just like Asgard and Thor Ragnarok. Maybe this movie was being made before that movie came out, but it's fucking weird, especially with all the references to mythological Thor.
Yeah, these Vikings believe in Thor and Valhalla and all that jazz, so I feel like that fits this movie.
Gods! People who fly with babies are the worst!
Here's a completely inorganic airplane joke. The baby isn't doing anything annoying, the person flying with the baby isn't doing anything annoying. It's an airplane joke, for the sake of an airplane joke.
Says the baby isn't doing anything while showing the baby Gronkle shooting a fireball at Snotlout.
Then the director said, "What's that? We do have an apple left? Well, let's have him eat it," just in case people weren't sure by the light thing that our villain is truly an asshole.
And the a-hole thing is much better suited for when he puts the apple on the dragon's tooth.
I introduced him to your female. Fury's mate for life, you see.
Right, but she's also free to stay, so I'm still shaky on how this is supposed to benefit you.
But the Light Fury doesn't want to stay, and as I already explained, Toothless would want to chase after her, and that gives Grimmel the opportunity to trap him.
Therefore, they've gone. They can only have gone. Does anyone want to take a guess?
Grimmel tries to make people he knows are stupid guess the direction of Hiccup and the others for an infuriatingly long time.
I mean, he spelled it out for them by eliminating north, south, and east as options, and so they really should have guessed the correct answer.
Is there a problem here?
You mean that the movie has time for this completely uninteresting and unfunny side story? Yeah, I'd consider it a problem.
Pretty sure you already send this plot line, so double dipping.
Number 2, because I'm clearly Volka's favorite.
This clueless and grating shtick from the Jonah Hill character and the faux TJ Miller character is so similar to each other that I can't tell them apart. Their characters are intensely unlikable. They aren't particularly good in battle, and I'm having a hard time figuring out the justification for them to exist.
They exist for comic relief mostly. I don't think they're that funny either, but I'm sure other people think they are.
5 full minutes of dragon flirting, the sequel.
3 whole seconds of pointing things out on the screen.
How does Hiccup know the Night Fury mating dance?
He doesn't. That's kind of the joke.
Double dragon desire drags on as dorky dragon deftly draws demure dragon, drawing out dragon dating denouement and delaying dragon debauchery.
Yeah, a few of those words don't start with D, so that alliteration is ruined.
Toothless can't fly without assistance, which is tantamount to being literally unable to get it up. And that means we have symbolic impotence in a kid's movie. And that isn't sinful in and of itself until your kid sees the scene and asks, "Where don't babies come from?"
Does anyone consider the How to Train Your Dragon movies as for kids? because I personally don't.
5 full minutes of dragon flirting, the goddamn trilogy.
Yes, I can see what's on the screen too. Thanks for being here for me.
One day you'll have to snip those apron strings and let Toothless stretch his wings.
I'm not sure it's exactly his wings that he's been stretching. I get that this is a family film and all, but I'm not the one that decided to make dragon f***ing a major plot point.
Jeremy implies boner.
Chin up, Hickey. Puff out that chest. Move that butt to the left a little bit.
There may be more filler in this movie than actual movie.
Kind of like this video, huh?
Gotcha. Even in cartoons, when somebody grabs a person in midair with one hand without physics taking over and making them fall as well, it's a sin.
And so is you questioning cartoon logic.
We left her behind?
How could you not notice she was missing? You ride a two-headed dragon.
Astrid would be amazing at CinemaSins.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Both you and Astrid forgot that Tough Nut is stupid, and that's part of his whole character.
You gave him his freedom, Hiccup. What were you expecting?
He was expecting Toothless to obey his best bud. He did say,
Bring her home by sundown at the latest.
for Thor's sake.
That is what he was expecting, but it's kind of unrealistic when you think about it, since Toothless is an animal who'd be emotionally distracted and is now able to fly on his own. That's what Astrid's point was.
Toothless.
Shh, you'll spook them.
Or maybe he'll alert a dragon horde to your fleshy human presence.
What? Wasn't that exactly what Astrid was talking about?
So if this place is to remain hidden from man, why would the happy couple be the only 2 Night Furies left? I get that they were hunted down out in the world at large, but none of them stuck around here? And if they aren't the only 2, then why would Toothless automatically be king?
I don't doubt that there are some Night Furies down here, but why is he the king? Because he's the alpha? Remember the last movie when he overruled the previous alpha? That was literally how they beat Drago?
We should go.
Some completely disconnected asshole who's not part of the festivities sneaks up behind the 2 heroes and captures them, cliché.
Isn't this dragon a part of the festivities?
Dad, are you gonna get us a new mom?
Skip.
This is a really good scene that spells out the main message of the movie, being that while love means being there for those you care about, it also means letting them go when the time is right. This sets up this movie's ending perfectly, so no, it's not skippable.
If capturing Toothless is this easy, there is no reason he couldn't have done it at the very beginning of the movie. Whatever the nonsense plan was about releasing the Light Fury had absolutely nothing to do with his ability to achieve his primary motivation to kill this dragon, which apparently was just this easy.
Technically, Toothless came out into a trap because Grimmel shot a dart at the Light Fury, so them mating actually had an effect on his plan.
Also, if his motivation is to kill the Night Furies, why doesn't he just take care of that right now? Or maybe in the next 30 minutes of this movie's pointless climax.
The reason Grimmel doesn't kill him now is because the other dragons will come to save him, but he'll threaten to kill the Light Fury, forcing Toothless to call off the attack and allow Grimmel and his men to capture all the remaining dragons.
Call them off, Alpha. No reason for her to die, too.
Wasn't Toothless just shot with sleeping venom? I mean, I faked being asleep to avoid conversations with my wife too, but this isn't the time for that.
Is that really how you treat your wife? Oh, yeah, and this also should have answered your question in the previous sin.
He listened to you.
Should he though? Last night, Astrid opted to take Hiccup to find Toothless, rather than encourage his individual strength. And when they found Toothless, the very symbol of Hiccup's crippling self-doubt, she opts out of a "you're just as good as he is" pep talk and swings to an ego stabbing.
Now that's a king.
My point is, Astrid's an asshole.
Are you suggesting she should have brought this up when they were in the hidden world? I feel like that would have been awkward. And she thought them finding Toothless would make him feel better, and maybe Toothless could still help in their mission against Grimmel. Now is the best time to bring up the lesson Hiccup's needed to hear while all the dragons are gone.
Toothless manages to roar loud enough instructions to this giant dragon while wearing a harness that keeps his mouth shut. That is amazing ventriloquism.
His mouth isn't entirely shut though. Like, you can literally see that.
This dragon manages to headbutt Hiccup so far he's able to reach Grimmel's glider, which is lucky ass, but even more lucky ass is how he finds the one spot on this thing that isn't burning.
Oh, cool. More sinning luck for some reason.
Let's just see who he follows.
If this miracle dragon mind control drug is this immediately effective, why wouldn't the first move just be to mind control the alpha?
Probably because he planned on killing him anyway.
How are we gonna get him off her back without hurting her?
Orgy problems.
For a guy who called this a kid's movie, you literally brought up orgy problems.
See that there? Oh,
cute.
You're cursed!
These hobgobblers have been a recurring mystery this entire movie. Is this their big payoff? Eating a ship Langolier style? Are we not going to have an explanation for why they duplicate? Why only some people can see them? And why they're considered a bad omen above any other destructive dragon? Come on, writers, you can do better than that. What if they only appeared to people who were about to die, and their final act is to spare them their worst fate? See? I just made your movie better, and I'm naked on a couch drinking yesterday's fermented sweet tea.
The movie not explaining how they can duplicate or why they're bad omen is literally the joke. Again, this is a comedy channel that somehow doesn't understand comedy.
Why does this lightning power throw these dragons off, but Hiccup is just fine? I'd say it might be his dragon scale armor, except I'm pretty sure that dragon scale armor is also found on, dragons.
Thanks to this person in the comment section for explaining this.
Hey man, even if you're both falling to your death, it's rude to touch people in their belt area.
It's almost like he's the villain or something.
Oh, look at this convenient island crag that will now allow the Light Fury to save Toothless and quickly, while also being able to turn around and save Hiccup before he crashes to the ground. You gotta love them island crags.
Still sending luck, but also ground? Hiccup almost fell into the ocean.
Go, Toothless. Go.
Damn it, this movie is all sorts of a mess, but this relationship is legit. Take your sin off while I go find a tissue, you bastard.
I love that you removed the sin for this scene, but I don't love that you claim this movie is a mess. Like, how?
Damn, this movie is taking a long time to end. I agree it's both sad and happy that Toothless is leaving and that he's gonna be the Hidden World's Lion King, but this ending is getting drawn out longer than The Lord of the Rings 3.
Exactly what I thought about this video.
Hey there, bud.
I brought my young children with me on this dangerous journey in hopes that you were still tame enough not to devour them.
Toothless is like a dog. He will always remember his favorite human.
Removing all the sins if Toothless burns down this boat and laughs.
Nah, you wouldn't have done that.
Don't screw this up.